I am willful and spoiled. After marrying a big iceberg who doesn't love me, I gave birth to a little iceberg. By the time my son turned 5, I was still bossing both of them around, acting like a tyrant at home. I just love seeing how much they despise me yet still have to serve me, until one day, bullet comments floated before my eyes. The villainess is finally about to be written off. The female lead has transferred to the male lead's company, and today she even took Little Bao to eat KFC. The story is getting back on track. She abused our male lead and Little Bao all day long. Fortunately, the father and son later kicked her out to please the female lead, and in the end, the spoiled rich wife ended up paralyzed from the waist down after being hit by a car on the street. Just thinking about the male lead and his family of 3 going to the hospital to mock her, now a cripple, fills me with satisfaction. I suddenly lifted my leg. My husband, who was helping me wash my feet, and my son, who was squatting beside me massaging my legs, were splashed with water all over their faces. The brows of the 2 icy-faced men, one big and one small, instantly furrowed, and I stammered, "No need, I can do it myself." Shirhan furrowed his tiny brows, his little head unable to understand why I kept changing my mind. "Mom, is the water too hot?" I awkwardly put my feet back into the basin. "No, I'm done washing, you don't need to massage them anymore. Please stand up first." I swallowed hard and glanced at my husband, who was also kneeling on one knee. "You get up too." Compared to Shirhan, Wasi is much more composed, seemingly accustomed to my unpredictable nature. He calmly stood up to fetch a towel. The more humiliating the kneeling was for the male lead and the little treasure just now, the more satisfying it will be when they put the female supporting character in her place later, having the young master massage her legs. The billionaire CEO wash and dry her feet. She really must be tired of living. I silently watched the scrolling subtitles, so I was the villainess, and my husband and son were the male lead and young male lead of this world. Not only did I have to make way for the female lead, but even Shirhan was arranged for me to give birth to first, all because the author was afraid the female lead would suffer from childbirth pain. In the end, the beautiful female lead appears to inherit my husband and son, redeeming them and showing them that there is such a kind woman besides me. The family of 3 lives happily ever after. I clenched my fist. Wasi is one thing, after all, we had a marriage of convenience with no emotional foundation. But Shirhan, I looked at the little boy standing obediently to the side. Although he has a face that looks exactly like his father's, he is, after all, my own son who came from my womb. I don't want to just hand him over to someone else for their benefit, so I cleared my throat lightly and asked him, "Sweetie, if Mom and Dad get divorced, who would you choose to live with?" Shirhan was taken aback for a moment, then his little brows furrowed again. He imitated his father's demeanor and spoke coldly, "Mom, don't make such meaningless assumptions." I was taken aback by his words and looked up, meeting Huasai's cold amber eyes. They seemed like a still, lifeless pool of water. He stepped forward, bent down on one knee, and lifted my foot from the basin. "Don't say these things in front of the child." Shirhan nodded, then turned and walked toward the door like a little adult. "I'm going back to sleep." The barrage of comments was filled with mockery. What is this supporting actress thinking? The father and son look exactly alike, so of course their level of annoyance with her is the same. Huasi can still pretend a little, but Xiao Bao practically has his disdain written all over his face. Haha, it's hilarious. Not to mention she's unwilling to get a divorce. Even if she really did, little treasure wouldn't follow her. What would he follow her for? To be her dog and serve her. Her purpose is to cause trouble and be abandoned, then end up with broken legs and a tragic death to achieve the satisfying effect of a revenge story. My heart skipped a beat, and without a word, I grabbed the towel from Huasai's hand. "I'll do it myself." Huasi also slightly furrowed his brow but ultimately said nothing. Lying in bed, I tried hard to digest the information conveyed by the bullet comments. I lifted my nightgown and looked at my long, fair legs, so long and so well proportioned. I couldn't accept losing them in the future. After much contemplation, I decided to first change my exploitative behavior toward my husband and son, as the bullet comments said. I truly couldn't control the meeting of the male and female leads. Even if I had Huasai fire the female lead, they would still meet at the next intersection. But if my son sees me as a gentle mother, perhaps when Huasai and I divorce, he would be willing to choose me. Thinking this, I looked up and saw Huasai just coming out of the bathroom. The man had a towel wrapped around his waist, and droplets of water that hadn't been dried yet slowly trickled down the skin on his chest. When he saw me lying on the bed with my robe lifted, exposing both legs, his motion of drying his hair paused, and his pupils instantly darkened. I was still racking my brains, trying to figure out how to be a considerate and good mother. Looking up, I saw that Huasi had already taken out the battle robe I had bought for him from the wardrobe. In his left hand, he held the black and white lace, and in his right hand, he grasped the purple lace. The tips of his ears were slightly red. And he looked at me with a blank expression, as if seeking my opinion. The barrage in front of me was screaming wildly. Why is the screen black? Is there something my esteemed VIP can't see? I won't scold you anymore. Female supporting character. Just turn on the camera and let everyone appreciate your husband's big pectoral muscles. Ji Chunshao. Share your husband with everyone to build good relationships. Hurry up and turn on the camera so we can see too. Amidst a pile of big yellow duck heads, a few original fans were mixed in. I can't accept this, even knowing how little Treasure came to be. I still feel the male lead was forced. Can't the female supporting character see that her husband always has a cold expression when he's with her? I think so too. The male lead clearly refused the first time, yet she keeps forcing him to wear it just to satisfy her own weird fetish. It's disgusting. It's fine. Just think about how the leg currently resting on the male lead will soon be gone, and I won't be so angry anymore. I took a deep breath, watching Huasai as he was about to change clothes, and pulled the blanket over my legs. I'm not in the mood today, let's go to bed early. After saying this, the air in the entire room seemed to freeze. The bullet comments erupted with excitement. Oh, the sun is up, the male lead doesn't look too happy. What did the female supporting character do again? What else could it be? She tried to force someone to wear clothes and got rejected. Look at how white the male lead's knuckles are as he grips that lace outfit. He's really holding back his anger. I also noticed that Huasai's expression was unusually grim, especially when the words, "not interested," came out. His face visibly darkened by more than 2 shades. In the past, Huasai was indeed reluctant to change clothes every time, and I had to coax and persuade him. Now, seeing the rolling barrage, I didn't even dare to breathe heavily. Understood. Huasai's voice, much like himself, is cool and restrained. He casually tossed his clothes into the wardrobe, pulled back the covers, and climbed into bed. I pinched my own leg under the covers and let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness it's still intact. Love you, old leg. See you tomorrow. The next day, I woke up to bright daylight. As I stepped out of my room, I saw the two of them, one big, one small, sitting in the living room. Just as I sat down, Huasai got up and went to the kitchen to fetch some bread for me. Huashirhan huffed and puffed as he carried the milk toward me, stepping onto a stool to pour it for me. The bullet comments are complaining again. The supporting female character really deserved to die. With so many maids at home, she insisted on having the male lead and little Treasure serve her. She was clearly looking for trouble. Exactly, talking about letting little Treasure develop good service habits so he won't be looked down upon when he marries into his wife's family. Does the little crown prince even need to marry into someone else's family? And she even glorified it by saying she was letting the male lead set a good example for their son. I think she was just deliberately tormenting them to satisfy her need for control. My brow twitched violently as I reached out and grabbed Huashirhan's small arm. Huashirhan looked up at me in confusion. I added 1.5 spoonfuls of sugar this time. I took the milk, poured it into a cup myself, and gulped down a few mouthfuls. You can handle such small matters yourself. Mom, you should hurry and eat. Huashirhan looked at me, seemingly unable to understand why I had become so strange. But he still turned around and sat back in his seat. Huasi also came out of the kitchen, looking at me with some difficulty. The salad dressing is gone. I've already asked Aunt Wang to buy more. I take the sandwich in hand. It's fine, I can eat it without salad dressing. The air falls silent. Even the nanny looks at me with some surprise. Haas also looked at his empty palm, his frown deepening. Mom, you actually didn't throw the sandwich in Dad's face. The sun blinked. I took a deep breath. Was I really that terrible before? The barrage has already answered for me. Why has the supporting female character suddenly changed her temperament? Doesn't she have the worst temper when waking up? Last time, when there was no salad dressing, she threw the sandwich out in a fit of anger. Look at how scared our little treasure is. Even his cool, aloof expression can't hold up, thinking his mom is possessed by a ghost. I took a bite of the sandwich. Feeling too guilty to look at the barrage again, a small piece of green vegetable slipped out and landed directly on my thigh. Seeing the stain on my home clothes, I instinctively frowned slightly. A tissue gently covered my leg, followed by the appearance of a hand with distinct knuckles in my field of vision. Wasai's hand was large, almost covering my entire thigh. My pupils suddenly contracted sharply, as if I could see my beautiful leg turning invisible and transparent. Then sprouting wings to say goodbye to me, with quick reflexes, I shook off the green vegetable, then looked up and met Wasai's cool, clear eyes. I can handle such trivial matters myself. I forced a smile, then turned to my son and said, "You don't need to massage my legs or pour milk for me anymore. Mom can do it herself." Shirhan's brows furrowed deeply, his voice icy. "Mom, are you sick?" I choked. This kid, when I'm nice to him, he says I'm sick. Throughout the meal, I stayed quiet and didn't make a fuss or ask anyone to get me tissues or pour milk. Shirhan looked up at me several times, his little brow furrowing deeper each time. Wasai's gaze seemed to drift over me, then slowly shifted away. It wasn't until Wasai left home with Shirhan that I finally collapsed heavily onto the sofa, staring at the oversized wedding photo hanging right in the center. I rubbed my temples. Actually, I had a crush on Wasai even before our arranged marriage. But he was like an iceberg. All my girlfriends had stumbled over him. I have my own pride. I can't bring myself to chase after someone, especially not such a tough iceberg to crack. Just as I was about to smother that tiny bit of affection for Wasai in its cradle, the arranged marriage between our families bound us together. I still remember the early days of my marriage when I couldn't contain my inner excitement, only to overhear his conversation with a friend outside the study. "Ji Chunshao is notoriously spoiled in our circle. You really hit the jackpot of bad luck." Wasai's voice was calm as I heard him say, "It's just a matter of mutual benefit. Isn't that what arranged marriages are all about?" The tiny spark that had just ignited was completely extinguished. After pretending to be obedient in front of my beloved for only a few months, I gave up entirely and shamelessly exposed my truest self. After all, as he said, we were just using each other for what we needed. From large appliances and furniture to small details like carpets, I insisted on decorating everything in the house according to my own preferences. Wasi never interfered, only this huge wedding photo. When I wanted to place it right in the center of the living room, he slightly frowned. "Putting it here doesn't match, it's very ugly." At that time, I was holding back my anger. It wasn't that he disliked the wedding photo, but rather that he disliked me. However, Wasai's cold personality also gave him a good temper that didn't hold grudges, so I intensified my efforts, starting to order him around to do this and that for me, forcing him to wear clothes he didn't like, just to satisfy me. Wasai would sometimes be displeased, but the way he expressed his dissatisfaction was only by slightly furrowing his brows. Wasai looked quite handsome when he frowned. He was already handsome as if descended from the heavens. I loved most to see him frown, as if the aloof immortal master from a painting had come to life, and the serene image finally took on a different expression. Over the years, because he indulged and tacitly allowed everything I did, I sometimes even had the illusion that he loved me. But looking at that icy face, his expression toward the nanny and me was exactly the same, and I knew it was just my ovulation period again, causing such an illusion. "Wang Ma, have someone take this photo down." I raised my hand and pointed at the enormous wedding photo. This was hung up by a young girl, full of joy and still harboring illusions about Wasai, right after they got married. 6 years later, the girl has gradually come to see clearly that in Wasai's eyes, I am no different from anyone else. Actually, I can accept a loveless marriage, but the barrage in front of me has been like a surveillance camera, live streaming what the male and female leads are doing at this very moment, making me inexplicably annoyed. The female lead poured coffee for the male lead, and he looked up at her. "I'm totally obsessed." The female lead made a mistake in the document and didn't even notice. What a little fool. The male lead will probably find her adorable when he sees it later. I closed my eyes and decided to take a nap first. When I opened my eyes, thunder rumbled outside the window. and rain poured down heavily. The phone vibrated. It was Huasai, fell asleep in the living room. His voice was faint, and I softly hummed in response. After a moment of hesitation, he spoke, "I have to work overtime today. If it gets too late, I won't be coming back. Let Huashihan sleep with you tonight." I haven't agreed yet. But the barrage of comments is flying by quickly before my eyes. The male lead is indeed working overtime, but our female lead is also at the company. On a rainy day, only a few NPCs and the male and female leads are left in the office. Just thinking about it feels so ambiguous. I love watching this kind of power couple dynamic. The male lead is a cold, workaholic CEO, and the female lead is a career-driven strong woman. It's nothing like some delicate, dependent wife. Exactly. Being afraid of thunder and needing someone to accompany you, and when your husband isn't around, you make your son keep you company. Is that being a giant baby? I took a deep breath. Having been called a giant baby, no need, just focus on your work. Before I could finish speaking, I looked up and saw Huashihan standing not far away, his little face stern, unsure how much he had overheard at the door. As I looked up, the camera shifted for a couple of seconds. The son said nothing. Quietly took off his backpack, turned around, and went inside. Huasi, however, spoke up, "Your background wall behind you." I turned to look and realized that while I was sleeping, the wedding photo had already been taken down. "Where's the photo?" he asked me, and I answered truthfully, "I had someone throw it out. You should focus on working overtime. I'm hanging up now." Huasi didn't say anything either, his expression suddenly turning gloomy, but I didn't notice at all. Frowning as I stared at the empty background wall, deep in thought, should I hang something to fill it in? It really does look unsightly when it's so empty. After dinner, the thunder outside the window still hadn't stopped, and I rubbed my sore eyes. When I opened my eyes again, a little boy was standing in front of me, holding a storybook with a serious expression. "Let's go, I'll tuck you in." Actually, I wasn't that afraid of thunder. I just hated that oppressive kind of weather. So every time it thunders, I'm in a bad mood, and I find ways to mess with Huasai in bed. The supporting female character is so annoying. A 5-year-old child still has to coax her to sleep. It's really turning the world upside down, and she has no sense of awareness at all. The little one is frowning, practically writing his disgust on his face. When she can't bother her husband who's working overtime, she starts bothering her son. Why can't the romantic storyline between the male and female leads speed up? I glanced at Huashihan. The little boy had no expression on his face, looking as wooden as his father. "No need, Mom can sleep by herself." I waved my hand to refuse. Huashihan bit his lip, looking somewhat aggrieved. "But Dad said I should keep you company." I felt a bit of a headache, and before I could say anything more, the sound of a car horn suddenly came from the courtyard. I froze. And the barrage of comments was also stunned. Why did the male lead come back? What about the female lead? Huashihan held the storybook, as if seeing a savior. He eagerly ran up, grabbed his father's hand, and earnestly tattled, "Mom won't let me stay." Horse also nodded, and even when facing his son, his expression didn't improve much. The barrage of question marks on the screen left me a bit confused as well. How did you come back?" Huasi didn't answer either. Looking up at the empty background wall, his eyes darkening a bit more. "You said it was ugly, so I took it down." I felt uneasy under his gaze and explained somewhat awkwardly, but the bullet comments sensed something off. Does the male lead really only feel disgust towards the female supporting character as written in the original? Something feels off to me. Of course, didn't you see how dark the male lead's face is? He must have realized his son couldn't handle this troublemaker and rushed back specifically to keep her from bothering little treasure. He does look quite impatient. Huasi also patted his son's head. "Go to sleep." Huashihan blinked, fixing his gaze on me. "Mom, no leg massage today either." I hurriedly waved my hands. No need." Huashihan pouted, his eyes seemingly glistening with unshed tears. Then he immediately put on a stern face, asking persistently, "Not even the shoulders?" I nodded like a pounding garlic, and Huashihan puffed out his cheeks before turning and heading back to his room. Huasi also reached out to tug at his tie, his brows and eyes heavy with a thick gloom. "Feeling down lately?" I was completely bewildered. "No, I've been in a pretty good mood lately." The air fell silent for 2 seconds. He took a deep breath and nodded. Outside the window, the rain pattered softly, while in front of me, the bullet comments kept scrolling. The male lead just left the female lead and went home like that. How is the plot supposed to move forward? Don't worry, even if they're not together, the bond between the male and female leads won't disappear. Their red thread of fate is stronger than steel rebar. Almost as soon as this bullet comment finished scrolling, Wasai's phone on the bedside table immediately rang. Listening to the sound of running water from the bathroom, I picked up Wasai's phone to remind him. Your phone is ringing, the barrage is having a good laugh. What did I say? The female lead is calling now, isn't she? Is the supporting female character going to answer it? Doesn't she know how to respect others' privacy? So disgusting. Don't worry, even if she answers, it'll only make the male lead hate her more. It's not like she hasn't done it before. In the original story, there was a time when she not only secretly answered but also cursed out the female lead, only to have the phone snatched away by the male lead and thrown to the ground, making a complete fool of herself. At the same time, Wasai's voice came from the bathroom. Answer it for me and ask what's going on. I tossed the phone back to its original spot as if it were a hot potato. Come out and answer it yourself. The sound of water in the bathroom abruptly stopped. Shortly after, Wasai also walked out, his hair still covered in foam. He first cast a heavy gaze at me, then lowered his head to pick up the phone beside him. The moment the call connected, a crisp female voice sounded from the other end. Mr. I sent you 2 proposals but haven't received a response. In the quiet room, the woman's voice on the other end was particularly noticeable. Wasai remained silent, his gaze fixed on my face as if waiting for something. I felt quite awkward. Why did he have to speak so loudly? The barrage is amused. Is the supporting female character about to go crazy again? In the past, whenever the male lead answered a call from a woman, she would throw a tantrum. Once, she even scratched his face until it bled. With her spoiled temper, only the male lead could tolerate her. But every time she acts unreasonably, his disgust for her grows, which only highlights the gentle kindness of our female lead. In the future, there will be even less sympathy for her broken leg. Now, whenever I see the words, broken leg, I have a strong reaction. I couldn't help it and started coughing violently. I got up and walked towards the bathroom while coughing. I'm going, cough, 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 to take a shower. My arm was grabbed by someone. Wasai also took a deep breath, as if desperately suppressing something, then hung up the phone with an expressionless face. After work hours, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Then, he looked up at me. A woman called me privately. And you're not angry? The air fell silent. Wasai also stared at me for a long time before finally letting go. That night, the restless tossing and turning beside me lasted until the early hours of the morning. The barrage of comments kept flashing before my eyes. The male lead must be regretting it now, agonizing over why he didn't stay with the female lead at the company instead of sleeping next to this supporting female character. Right. I think the female supporting character is quite pitiful too, sharing a bed but not a heart with her partner, and acting like a fool. Me, being described as a fool. I clenched my fists. It's fine, I'll endure it. As long as my son agrees to leave with me, I'll immediately file for divorce from Wasai and wish him 99. I slept soundly through the night without any dreams. When I woke up the next day, Wasai had already left. Walking into the living room, my son was sitting at the dining table, his eyes fixed intently on me as I approached. I walked over and gently touched his face. Shirhan's small frame stiffened, and then the tips of his ears grew increasingly red. He subtly retracted his neck, clearly trying to avoid me. My hand froze in midair, feeling a bit awkward. The bullet comments mocked me. Can't she see that others are disgusted by her? I wish I could live as foolishly as the supporting female character for a lifetime. When will she ever understand that she's just a supporting character? Lately, her attempts to please have been so obvious, yet neither the father nor the son has paid her any attention. Little Bao is just as biased as his father. He won't even let the supporting character touch him, but he treasures the candy the female lead gave him yesterday, hiding it under his pillow and refusing to eat it. My pupils suddenly contracted sharply. Compared to the idea that Wasai would eventually fall in love with someone else, this sentence hit me 100 times harder. Although I often tease my son at home, he is a piece of my own flesh and blood. I just enjoy teasing him, Seeing him put on a serious face at such a young age makes me want to mess with him. He furrows his brows like a little adult, and I find it absolutely adorable. But now, the bullet comments tell me that no matter how hard I try, my son will still prefer another woman according to the plot. I stubbornly pulled up a chair and sat down beside him. Shirhan turned his head to glance at me, his little bottom shifting on the stool as he moved a bit farther away from me. My heart sank halfway, but I still asked, "Sweetie, do you like?" Before I could finish speaking, the little boy lowered his head and took a sip of milk, cutting me off. "Mom, I've told you not to call me that, just call me Shirhan." His voice was soft and childish, but his words were firm and unyielding. He kept his head down, the tips of his ears flushed red. The bullet comments are hilarious. Xiao Bao is so annoyed with her, she has no self-awareness at all. Xiao Bao's face is flushed from holding his breath. Yesterday, when the female lead called Xiao Bao, he responded so sweetly, but today, when the supporting female character called him baby, he coldly refused. He really takes after his dad, loyal and unwavering toward the female lead. My fingers curled slightly, and my eyes grew a little warm, watching the boy's buttocks almost slipping off. Even though half his body was leaning out, he still kept his distance from me. Suddenly, I felt quite bored, forcing myself to go along, watching my husband and son gradually fall in love with some female lead as the plot unfolded, watching myself go mad with jealousy, only to end up in that miserable state. It's so incredibly boring. I withdrew my hand and turned back to my room. The bullet comments were still popping up. Why do I suddenly feel a bit sorry for the supporting female character? +1, don't be so self-righteous. Upstairs, who told her she's not the female lead? After Shirhan left, I entered his room, looking at the candy under the pillow. It felt as if my heart and soul had been shattered. The plot is truly a terrifying thing. I actually found myself seething with jealousy in my heart. I haven't even met the so-called female lead yet, but just because my son likes her more, I already started to dislike her. I sat in my son's room for 10 minutes before finally standing up. Before becoming Shirhan's mother and Sai's wife, I must ensure that I remain the proudest daughter of the Ji family, Ji Chunxiao. When my best friend called, I was in the middle of planning a travel itinerary. I don't want to become jealous, twisted, and hysterical, or turn into the villainess they all talk about. I should go out and clear my head. After all, the father and son never care where I go. Help me pick up a child. My best friend seemed busy, and it was a bit noisy on her end. I spoke in surprise. "When did you give birth?" My best friend clicked her tongue lightly. "It's my brother's. I mentioned it to you. He was drugged and tricked into having a child. He recently went abroad and left the kid with me, but I'm too busy to take care of him." "You said your Shirhan is always like a little ice cube, with hardly any friends in kindergarten. My nephew is super sweet talking. Why don't you take him home and let Shirhan play with him for a couple of days?" I didn't even have time to refuse before she sent me the address and hung up. My head was spinning. This kindergarten seems to be affiliated with Shirhan's family. I've only been there once, and at the time, Shirhan coldly told me, "It's enough to have the nanny pick you up at home, whether you come or not doesn't matter." Seeing his disdain, I never went again. My best friend was right. Her little nephew is really shockingly sweet-talking. Not only did he hold my arm and keep calling me auntie, but he also smiled especially sweetly. I was so charmed that I lost all sense of time and space, my heart melting into a puddle. I even started to resent Sai in my heart, if it weren't for his overwhelmingly strong genes. My Shirhan would probably be snuggling in my arms, acting all soft and adorable, but as soon as I looked up, I noticed a somewhat familiar face standing not far away. "Dad!" Xiao Nian cried out in surprise, rushing over to hug the man, but he smiled and turned his gaze toward me. "Chun Xiao, long time no see." Looking at the man who smiled so gently and warmly, I was somewhat surprised. "Helling, didn't your sister say you went abroad?" It had been so long since I last saw him that I almost didn't recognize him. Compared to the sunny little boy who used to follow me and my best friend around calling us sisters, he had clearly matured a lot. "Just got back. Since the child's father has come to pick him up, I plan to leave." But Xiao Nian keeps shaking my arm. "Auntie, stay with me a little longer." Faced with such an adorable creature, I really can't bring myself to say no. Xiao Nian said he wanted to eat fried chicken. So we had to find a nearby shop. I just didn't expect to run into Hua Shihan here, standing next to a beautiful woman. What would you like to eat today, little treasure? Auntie Yan Yan is treating. The woman smiled beautifully, and Hua Shihan raised his hand to point at a set meal, but suddenly froze. The chaotic and noisy fried chicken shop suddenly became unusually quiet. Only the barrage of comments in front of me was scrolling frantically. Oh my god, what's going on? The plot is all messed up. How did the supporting female character run into Little Treasure and the female lead at this moment? Is the supporting female character going to go crazy and hit Little Treasure on the spot? Look at how scared Little Treasure is, not even smiling anymore. But this battlefield of love is so satisfying to watch. The supporting female character and the man beside her are quite a match, and the little child they're holding is so well behaved. At first glance, it looks like they're a family of three. My arm was gently shaken, and Xiao Nian spoke sweetly. Auntie, I can't see that panel. I need Auntie to hold me to see it. Hua Shihan stood not far away, his previously bright smile completely gone as he quietly watched me. His icy gaze made my eyes sting with redness. It's rather pitiful to say, but I haven't seen him smile so happily since he was 3 years old. To see it again, of all places, was by the side of another woman. Little Treasure looks at her like she's an enemy. Haha, kids really can't hide their emotions at all. He's shielding the female lead behind him, probably afraid the supporting female character will come over and cause a scene. If I were the supporting female character, I'd have some self-awareness and pretend not to see anything. Her son's expression clearly shows he doesn't want to acknowledge her. I remained silent, picked up Xiao Nian beside me, and ignored Hua Shihan not far away. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Hua Shihan's little face tightening even more, as if he were nervous, or perhaps angry. Since seeing me in the shop, Hua Shihan hasn't smiled again. He quietly watched Xiao Nian and me, his eyes chillingly cold. Through the window, I watched Hua Shihan's small figure. He let the woman take his hand and lead him away. I find it somewhat laughable that my son would avoid my touch, yet so obediently lets another woman lead him by the hand. Noticing my distracted state, He Ling spent the entire meal trying to cheer me up. He has always been lively and clingy since childhood, and his son is quite similar to him in that regard. Gradually, as he led me to reminisce about childhood embarrassments, my mood improved quite a bit. After finishing the meal, I was just about to refuse He Ling's request to see me home when Xiao Nian blinked his big eyes and clung to me, refusing to let go. I chuckled softly. He really is just like you were as a child, so clingy. He Ling's eyes flickered slightly. You still remember, Sister Chunshao, getting out of He Ling's car. Xiao Nian clung to me like an octopus. In the end, He Ling had no choice but to get out of the car and forcibly peel the little one off me, stuffing him back into the car before the matter was settled. Watching the car gradually drive away, I turned and headed home. Just turning around gave me a fright. Under the dim streetlight stood two figures, one tall and one short. Hua Shihan clenched his little fists with a tense face, while Hua Sai showed no expression at all. It was unclear how long they had been standing there. When they saw me looking over, Hua Shihan coldly turned his head and started walking home. The bullet comment sensed something was off. Don't you think this pair, big and small, look like two gloomy, creeping, damp male ghosts? There's a bit of that vibe. When the female supporting character turned around just now, it almost scared me to death. Both of them had gloomy faces. Why, don't they hate the female supporting character? The person above doesn't get it, right? According to the plot, the female lead should have been having a meal with the male lead and Little Treasure today. But for some reason, Little Treasure threw a tantrum and insisted on going home, which has prevented the male and female leads from having any alone time so far. No wonder the male lead is frustrated. I withdrew my gaze and stepped inside. Hua Sai's gaze fell on me. I rubbed my arms, feeling a chill. The eerie atmosphere persisted until dinner, when Hua Shihan refused to eat. The nanny was at a loss. Madam, perhaps you should go and call the young master. He fears you the most and listens to whatever you say. Somehow, those words sounded harsh to my ears. He was already full from eating fried chicken. Why should I force him to do more? No matter what I do, he still only feels fear and disgust toward me. Why bother getting myself into trouble again? Let it be, I said. Hua Shihan's room fell silent for 2 seconds. Then suddenly the door was yanked open. He glared at me with red-rimmed eyes. If you don't care about me, are you going to be someone else's mom? I was taken aback. Not yet having said anything, when he suddenly burst into loud sobs as if he could no longer hold back. Dad is just a liar. He said Mom liked him the most, and I thought if I acted like him, Mom would like me more too. Liar, liar, big liar. It had been too long since I had seen any other expression on Huashirhan's face, not even a smile, not even a look of disappointment, so when I saw him break down and wail, I was stunned. The barrage was also confused. What's wrong with little treasure? Why is he suddenly crying so hard? I sensed something off. Didn't little treasure dislike Ji Chunxiao as a mother? Why does it seem like he actually likes her? Huashirhan cried so hard he could barely catch his breath, as if pouring out all his grievances in one go. Mom hugged another kid today. She didn't care if I didn't eat, and she didn't even let me give her a massage. I tried so hard to act cool, but she didn't like me more at all. She likes other kids now. Huashirhan's cries echoed through the empty living room. I snapped back to reality and crouched down. Huashirhan's face was flushed red from crying, the boy's delicate face was covered in tear stains, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of heartache. What are you talking about? Mom doesn't dislike you. I reached out to wipe his tears, and Huashirhan took the opportunity to snuggle into my arms. Mom doesn't like Dad's cold expression now, so she doesn't like me anymore, right? Is it because that uncle today smiled so nicely, and that's why you like his smiling child? Then I'll learn to smile like that uncle. Mom, please don't like other children. I'm full of question marks. What on earth is this kid talking about? Huashirhan hasn't obediently nestled in my arms like this for 2 or 3 years now, even though he listens to everything I say. Whenever I touch or hug him, he would frown and resist, then hide far away with a cold expression. At this moment, the little boy is leaning softly against me, crying in hiccups, clutching the hem of my clothes as if I might leave at any moment. I won't be like Daddy anymore, I'll be like Uncle. Mommy, please don't hate me, he sobbed and sniffled. I turned my head away. Even though my son's words were jumbled, I still caught a crucial piece of information. That is, my precious doesn't hate me, but it was Huasai who taught him all sorts of nonsense. I turned my head. Huasai frowned, his expression somewhat inexplicable, being stared at by me. He looked a bit innocent. I didn't do anything, really, he explained somewhat urgently, and even the bullet comments could tell something was off. This desperate need to survive, the way he's so afraid his wife will misunderstand is kind of adorable, right? Right, you definitely didn't teach him. You just told your son that Ji Chunxiao happens to like guys like you. That's all. Upstairs, the more I listen, the more it sounds like this man is showing off to his son. Huashirhan seemed to pour out all the grievances of these years in one go, clutching my clothes tightly and clinging to me. He kept crying until he was exhausted, yet still unwilling to let go. Helpless, I carried him back to his room and laid him on the bed. Huashirhan's eyes were red and brimming with tears. Mommy, I'll be good. Please don't dislike me, okay? He pouted, fishing out the candy from under the pillow. This was given by Daddy's subordinate. It's for Mommy to eat, so Mommy won't like other kids. Looking at that piece of candy, a tender spot in my heart felt as if it had been struck hard. The barrage is confused. Wait, what's going on? Wasn't the female lead getting along well with Little Treasure? And didn't Little Treasure really like her? Why is he acting so sweetly toward the supporting female character now? Little Treasure has been watching too much TV. What's with this subordinate or underling talk? I suddenly feel sad for the female lead. After spending so much time with Little Treasure, all she gets is the title of underling, but I've always wanted to say, the male lead never asked the female lead to take care of the child. Every time, it was the female lead who actively sought out Little Treasure to play with him or take him to eat KFC. A child would definitely find it hard to refuse such junk food. Looking at Huashirhan, whose eyes were washed bright and shiny by tears, I couldn't help but ask him, so, not letting your mom touch you or call you good boy, were you just imitating your dad? Huashirhan's little face flushed red again, but this time he didn't put on a stern expression. Instead, he answered obediently, because whenever Mom touches me, I can't help but want to giggle, and I feel so happy, but then I wouldn't be like Dad. I remained silent. Huashirhan stared at me nervously again. I don't want to learn from Dad anymore. not at all. His nervous expression made it seem as if he was afraid I would say I hated him. I find it absurd, yet everything seems to have its own logic. It does seem that my son has been imitating Huasai's behavior all along. I just never thought of it that way. I thought he was just like his father, naturally cold-faced. Recalling the bullet comments that said Huasai and the female lead's red thread of fate was stronger than steel. I hesitated for a moment before tentatively speaking up. Sweetie, if mommy and daddy, I was still carefully choosing my words when Huashirhan sat up. I can learn from uncle. Mommy doesn't like daddy's type now, she likes uncle's type. I thought for a moment before realizing he was talking about He Ling. You don't need to imitate anyone, just be yourself. You are my child, and I love you no matter what your personality is. Huashirhan's eyes were bright, staring at me without blinking. Really? Of course, the barrage was speechless. The plot has completely deviated. Why doesn't the little treasure hate the supporting female character, but instead seems to like her a lot? But I think it's only right for a child to love their mother, isn't it? Having a strange aunt suddenly appear to act as his mother. It's not like he doesn't have one. Besides, even though the supporting female character bosses her son and husband around all day, she hasn't done anything truly terrible. You can tell she loves her child. I stood up, sighed as I looked at Huashirhan, who had cried himself to exhaustion. Turning around, I locked eyes with Huasai, who was standing at the door. He frowned slightly, his handsome face showing a bewildered expression for the first time. After leaving his son's bedroom, Huasi immediately spoke up. I didn't teach him anything strange. I thought his personality was just like that. I nodded, hesitating for a few seconds before speaking. I know your personality is innate, but I feel it has too much influence on our son. Children unconsciously imitate adult behavior. Huasi also pursed his lips, and I continued, since we don't have much affection for each other anyway, why not get a divorce? I can change too. We spoke at the same time, and the air fell completely silent. Huasai's expression was grim as he stared at me, seemingly in disbelief. What did you say? I was also very agitated. Those bullet comments had been tormenting me for days, and I was almost driven mad. My son's words made me realize that Huasai also knows I like him, yet he remains cold even after marriage. I thought this was just Huasai's personality, after all. We are already married and have a child born of love, and I still have feelings for him. I felt that life could continue like this, and it would be acceptable, but the appearance of the bullet comments and the female lead made me realize that he is not incapable of love. Someone like him can later lose control and go crazy because he falls in love with the female lead. Huasai's eyes suddenly darkened, and he stared at me for a few seconds before repeating in a hoarse voice, I can change too. I frowned slightly. My son is still young, it's because of imitation, but Huasai is different. A person's innate nature is hard to change, but looking at his pale face, I ultimately said nothing. When I came out of the bathroom, the barrage was going crazy. Damn it, why is the screen black again? I hate that I'm reading this novel on a legitimate platform. Supporting female character. I won't scold you anymore. Just describe your husband's current outfit to let everyone have a laugh. Supporting female character. Sisters all over the world are one family. Share your husband's handsome photos everywhere. Quickly show us the good stuff. I fell silent, looking at Huasai on the bed. He remained expressionless, but the blush on his face extended all the way from the tips of his ears to his neck. I used to enjoy forcing Hoth to play roles like doctor, nurse, or butler. No one can resist the allure of a cold, aloof beauty being brought down from their pedestal. This was the first time he had ever taken the initiative like this. Looking at his wrists, chafed raw from the chains, I stepped forward. Did you tie this yourself? Probably doing this for the first time. Huasi was so ashamed that his ears turned even redder, his voice hoarse beyond recognition. Yeah, didn't you say you liked it this way last time? After a pause, he cleared his throat softly. I won't get a divorce. I frowned, and Huasi seemed to grow anxious as well. I won't get a divorce. He stubbornly repeated, I haven't even spoken yet, and the bullet comments are already scrolling. Tie up. What kind of game are you playing? Wow, the female supporting character and the male lead are playing this big in private. What expression does the male lead have now? He must be feeling humiliated, right? Humiliated. I quietly watch Huasai. He leans against the bedside, his brows slightly furrowed. whether from restricted movement or being tied too tightly. The man is dressed in an extremely contrasting, tight piece of fabric, revealing well-defined muscle lines wherever the eye can see. My best friend once said that Huasai is the only creature in our circle who can captivate people to death without using any tricks, but now, he had to resort to tricks. I swallowed hard, as those bullet comments seemed to blur automatically. I raised my hand and gently traced it over Huasai's abdomen, with a muffled groan from the man. A series of red exclamation marks nearly scared me to death. It's wrong for the female supporting character to defile the male lead. The male lead belongs to the female lead. How could a predetermined ending possibly change? The way the female supporting character is tormenting the male lead now is exactly how she'll be tormented by the plot in the future. Now you're tying up the male lead. Later you'll be tying up your own legs. The female leads controlling readers have gone crazy. I quickly pulled my hand back. Wasi also furrowed his brows deeply, his gaze dazed, as if asking me why I stopped. A lustful heart is a sharp knife, beauty can lead one astray. I'm about to divorce him, and now he's trying to seduce me again. I covered my eyes, refusing to look at Huasai's body or those red exclamation marks. The air seemed to freeze. After a rustling sound, Huasai's voice came through, "Go to sleep." I lowered my hand, looking at the man who had already turned his back. Did the male lead just shed a tear? It must be painful, right? The supporting female character doesn't even bother to help untie him. I always feel like things aren't that simple. I slept soundly through the night without any dreams. The next day, as soon as I opened my eyes, a handsome and adorable face was magnified right before me. I was startled. Washer's smiling eyes curved, bright and sparkling. "Good morning, baby mommy." Then he gave a loud kiss on my face. And I blinked in confusion, while the bullet comments were almost overwhelmed by the cuteness. Oh my, the cold-faced cutie has met his match. Pure adorableness. How can the supporting female character be so fertile? It made me want to become a pain-free mother early in the morning. Huashirhan wiggled his little bottom as he climbed onto the bed, even stepping on Huasai, who had just woken up. "Mom, I dreamed about you all night. Did you miss me?" Was my son's personality originally like this? I began to doubt myself, and when I looked down, I met Huasai's dark, gloomy eyes. His brows were furrowed with frustration, and his eyes were fixed intently on his son. Huashirhan, however, seemed oblivious, snuggling into my arms and acting coquettishly. "Mom, I learned how to make a fried egg from the nanny. Would you like to try it? I made it especially for you, Mom." I rubbed his head and lifted him off the bed. The bullet comments were flickering. "Ha ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. Look at the male lead's resentful gaze. His wife was snatched away early in the morning. Who can he even complain to? This gloomy male ghost is having all the fun. The male lead belongs to the female lead. The male lead belongs to the female lead." Stop shouting upstairs. The female lead hasn't even entered the male lead's office more than a few times. While the supporting female character has slept with him over and over again, who's the better match? We're not blind. I paused in my steps and turned to look. Wasi's gloomy expression, which he had no time to conceal, immediately came into view. My son also turned his head following my gaze. After a few seconds of silence, he spoke slowly, like a little adult. "Mom, I called Ching-Ching, the most popular girl in my class, on my smartwatch this morning. She said no one likes cold people. Everyone likes warm people. So, if I become warm, will you like me?" I gently set him down. "I like it. Mom likes you no matter what." The barrage was amused. Is this kid trying to show up his dad? Was Shirhan, a useless dad who can't be helped? This is the liveliest breakfast I've had in the 6 or 7 years since I married Huasai. Huashirhan seemed to have said all the words he hadn't spoken over the years and acted all the coquettishness he hadn't shown before. He held the milk bottle and poured milk for me. He brought out his own heart-shaped fried eggs from the kitchen. I had just finished eating when a small, chubby hand rested on my shoulder. "Mom, let me give you a shoulder massage." Huasai, sitting across from me, the barrage of comments erupted with laughter. Has this kid completely let himself go? He used to put on a cold face when his mom bossed him around. But was he secretly enjoying it all along? This is the smallest bootlicker I've ever seen, bar none, as the saying goes, like father, like son. I'm even starting to suspect that beneath his cold exterior, The male lead might also enjoy being ordered around by the female lead like a dog. The male lead belongs to the female lead. The male lead belongs to the female lead. Upstairs, you're already crying in frustration. I reached out and pinched my son's cheek. It was soft and squishy, a texture I had never felt before. Shirhan glanced at me with a flushed little face, then leaned in a bit closer. Mommy, pinch it again. I like it. Bullet screen. It's the weekend today, so Huasi doesn't have to work, and Shirhan doesn't have to go to school. The little one is like a shadow, constantly calling, Mommy, Mommy, and running around after me. Huasi hasn't said a word the whole time, just quietly watching, until lunchtime. Huasi was also missing. Shirhan, wearing small gloves, frowned as he helped me peel shrimp, showing no concern at all about where his father had gone. The bullet comments, however, were providing real-time updates. What is the male lead up to? Aren't all his clothes custom-made? What's he doing at a men's clothing store? See, I told you the plot is irresistible, meeting the female lead at a men's clothing store. What else could it be but fate? The female lead accidentally damaged some clothes while working part-time and is getting scolded by her boss, and the male lead shows up like a savior. The official pairing is just amazing. My hand, which was peeling shrimp, paused, and for some reason, my heart suddenly started beating faster, as if I was anticipating something, or perhaps afraid. The barrage of comments continued to roll on without pause. The person upstairs might be delusional. The male lead passed right by the female lead without even glancing at her. I doubt he even remembers having an employee like her. LOL, I've never seen a male and female lead who manage to miss each other perfectly every single time. What exactly are you holding on to? Person upstairs. Shirhan held the shrimp up to my mouth, his big, round eyes wide open. Mom, why aren't you eating anymore? Is it because I didn't peel it well? Seeing the bullet comments saying that Huasai is already on his way back, I pull myself out of my thoughts. How could I have ever thought that Shirhan and Huasai were exactly the same? He is clearly sunny and adorable. Shirhan watched with satisfaction as I put the shrimp into my mouth, then spoke with a smile. Mom, if you don't like Dad's icy face, you can always change Dad's. Last time, when you were with that uncle, you looked really happy. I nearly choked on my breath. Shirhan suddenly stopped talking, glanced guiltily toward the door, and fell silent. I turned my head to see Huasi standing at the doorway, holding 2 bags. The barrage is amused. The male lead comes home to find his son digging a pit for him. I'm dying of laughter. The male lead's expression. If little treasure weren't his son, he'd probably be strung up and beaten by now. You think being his son means he won't be strung up and beaten? Huasi also gave Shirhan a cold glance before turning and returning to his room. More than 10 minutes later, I was still eating with my head down when the sound of a door opening came from the room. My son looked up and began coughing violently. I frowned and patted his back. Eating so fast. You choked, didn't you? Shirhan took the opportunity to burrow into my arms, and as I patted his back, I looked up. Then, I choked too, not far away. A blush crept across Huasi's cheeks as he turned to look out the window. He was wearing a blue hoodie. This was the first time I had seen him in this type of clothing. Is it ugly? Huasi's voice remained calm, and I couldn't answer either. Not ugly, just a bit strange. After all, apart from gray loungewear and suits, Huasi had hardly ever worn anything else, besides the sense of dissonance. I also felt that something seemed very familiar. The bullet comments answered for me. Your brother just imitated it so fiercely. He found the only way to defeat the mistress, which is to imitate the mistress. Isn't that genius? I finally realized what was off. This is exactly what He Ling was wearing that day. Exactly the same, not a single detail different. Looking at Huasi's equally reddened ear tips, I suddenly wondered if I had misunderstood something. Is the plot really unsolvable? Wife. I just bought that foot soak soap you said was comfortable last time. Tonight I'll help you with it. Huasi also stuttered, and the entire living room fell into silence. Shirhan suddenly covered his ears. Ah, Dad, you're so scary. That's terrifying. Don't talk like that. I tried hard to hold back my laughter, while the barrage of comments went wild. This is how honest people get treated when they finally speak up. I'm so embarrassed I could dig my toes into the ground. Brother Yi, just keep being your cool self. Chasing your wife doesn't mean making her laugh to death. I thought it would be bad, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. I took 2 deep breaths and finally managed to suppress my laughter. Wasai was about to say something else, but I quickly stopped him, afraid I might actually laugh myself to death. Alright, let's eat first. Throughout the entire meal, I couldn't help but glance up at Wasai repeatedly. Damn, the more I look, the funnier it gets. So after hesitating for a few seconds, I still couldn't resist secretly taking out my phone to snap a picture and send it to my best friend. The distant figure immediately let out a mocking laugh. Is this Wasai? Has he gone mad? What kind of roleplay are you forcing your husband into again? Wait, this outfit. My heart skipped a beat, and before I could take it back, my best friend's voice message popped up. My hand trembled, and I accidentally played it. Are you making your husband cosplay as my brother? Look at this mess. Why didn't you say earlier that you liked my brother? He's been secretly in love with you for so many years. He'd probably jump at the chance to be your third wheel. I immediately dropped my phone and covered my son's ears. Shirhan didn't hear it, but the blush on Hwasai's face had completely vanished. I was so embarrassed I wanted to say something, but after a final glance at Hwasai's expression, I said nothing. In the evening, the sun once again knelt by my feet to massage my legs. Hwasai, wearing that hoodie, brought over the foot-soaking water and quietly lowered his head to wash my feet. I want to remind him to change his clothes, but I don't know how to say it. It wasn't until I finished showering and lay in bed, with my son already back in his room and Haas also coming out of the bathroom, that I couldn't hold back any longer. Why are you still wearing this outfit? Haas also pursed his lips and said nothing. I went forward to tug at his clothes. You've already taken a bath. The back of my head was cupped by someone, and the man eagerly kissed me. The barrage of comments erupted in a chorus of wails. I've even been forcing myself to ship you two against my conscience, so why won't you let me watch? After abstaining for too long, Wasai was also unusually eager. This time, there were no bullet screen reminders about whether I'd break my legs or not. Just a flood of big yellow duck heads begging for a live stream. In the heat of the moment, I reached out and pulled Hwasai's head closer to mine. The man paused for a second, his eyes suddenly turning crimson, his movements growing even more unrestrained. When I emerged from the bathroom again, my hands and feet were so weak I could barely move, only to find Hwasai sitting motionless by the bed. He was still wearing that hoodie. Frowning, I stepped forward and poked him. You're all sweaty. Why aren't you taking it off? The bullet comments were scrolling rapidly. Your husband is crying, dropping little pearls. I was taken aback, cupping Hwasai's face, and sure enough, his eyes were rimmed red, shimmering with tears. I swallowed hard. Oh my god, why does Hwasai look like this? What's wrong with you? Is the supporting female character made of wood? Still asking. Just kiss him until he faints and he won't cry anymore, right? Not allowed to watch while doing it. Now coaxing the husband and asking everyone for ideas. What else could it be? Thinking you can only sleep with him by wearing this outfit, feeling upset inside. I was taken aback for a moment, then found it somewhat amusing. Hwasai's voice was also low and hoarse. Do you really like him that much? So much that you'll only touch me when I'm wearing these clothes? Ji Chunshao, you're such a fickle, unfaithful woman. I choked up, and Hwasai's tears fell even harder. When you liked me, you made me wear those things, and I agreed. When you didn't like me, you wouldn't even touch me. I tried to seduce you like that, and you still didn't budge. I noticed something was off a long time ago. You wouldn't let me massage your legs, rub your back, or bathe you, and you weren't interested in my body either, even though you used to love it the most. You only touch me when I dress like him. How could you? He took a deep breath. Can we not get divorced? I can change too. Just like our son, if you like, I can dress up for you. I can learn from him. Please don't look for him anymore. I can do better. The barrage was filled with ellipses. Can't bear to look. Such a worthless look. Truly embarrassing for us men. If you care about face, you won't have a wife. Your wife is about to divorce you. If I were you, I wouldn't care about face either. After 2 seconds of silence, I decided to tell him the truth. I don't dislike you, nor have I fallen for someone else. It's just that, I opened my mouth, only to find I couldn't utter a single word about the plot. I widened my eyes in surprise. Oh, there's an encryption system too. I tried again, still only opening my mouth without speaking. Huasai's gaze was fixed tightly on my mouth, his eyes gradually darkening. Honey, you're so cute. Me, opening and closing your mouth like that. Are you trying to seduce me? Bullet comments. The male lead seems to have been driven mad by a love rival. I looked up at the sky in speechless despair and finally decided to give up. Huasai, however, let out a resigned sigh and kissed me. No matter the reason, it's enough that you're by my side. When I came out of the bathroom again, I had no strength left at all. Huasi was also holding my hand. Honey, many people at our company have their wives bring them homemade lunches. I lazily grunted in response. Huasi's cool voice sounded again. My assistant brags about it all day. I grunted again. Feeling drowsy, Huasi also fell silent, and the bullet comments were killing themselves with laughter. Brother, ye still can't let go. It's so awkward. Why don't you just tell your wife to go to the company and give you a proper status? But if that happens, won't the female lead and the supporting female character meet? Oh, I almost forgot about the supporting female character until you mentioned it. I suddenly widened my eyes. Lust truly brings danger. How could I forget that I'm just a supporting female character? After a 2-second brainstorming session, I turned my head. I can't cook. Huasi's eyes were also shining brightly. I can do it. You just need to deliver it. Me, the next day, I searched for a long time to find the perfect outfit to face my rival, dressed up meticulously, and headed to Huasai's company with a lunchbox in hand. The bullet comments were especially lively. Battlefield of love. Battlefield of love, honestly, I've switched sides during this time. Sorry, female lead, but the male lead and the supporting female character are really worth rooting for. I clenched my palm, feeling inexplicably nervous. The receptionist greeted me with a smile. Are you the madam? The CEO is waiting for you up ahead. I was taken aback, looking up at Huasai not far away. Why is he standing here instead of working? After that, he took me around the company 5 or 6 times. And I even started to suspect he might be lost. The bullet comments are hilarious. The male lead is so scheming, as if afraid others wouldn't know his wife has arrived. I found it somewhat amusing. My legs were already sore, and I was just about to say that's enough. But when I looked up, I saw a beautiful woman standing in front of me. The screen was flooded with exclamation marks. I stiffened my body. I remember her. The woman who took Huasherhan to buy fried chicken last time. Also the female lead mentioned in the bullet comments. So you are the CEO's wife. She clearly recognized me too. Our eyes met, and the woman widened her eyes in surprise. She looked at Huasai and then at me. An eerie silence hung for 2 seconds as she glanced at the top of Huasai's head. Huasai furrowed his brows, clearly not understanding why this employee was blocking the way. He led me past her toward the office. But we hadn't taken more than a few steps when hurried footsteps sounded from behind. My heart pounded like a drum, and the barrage of comments on the screen went wild. It's coming, it's coming. The female supporting character and the female lead are about to have a big fight. As a fan of the female lead, I'm shamefully wavering. Sorry, I'd like to ask you a question. The woman's voice was pleasant, and she looked at me somewhat awkwardly. Well, what kind of formula does Xiaobao usually drink? My son is about the same age as him, but half a head shorter. I asked Xiaobao last time, and he said you were the one who bought it. I've been wanting to ask you about it if I ever got the chance. I froze, a flush creeping across the man's cheeks. A big man like the CEO probably doesn't understand. My husband is the same. Every time I ask him to buy something, he gets it wrong. If it's convenient, could you tell me the brand? My ears were ringing, and I was completely stunned. The barrage of comments was clearly even more shocked than I was. Are you kidding me? The male lead getting married is one thing, but how come the female lead is married too? Who are you discriminating against? The person above. Why can the male lead get married but not the female lead? If you ask me, the female lead can not only get married, but she can marry 18 people. Bigamy warning. The plot has completely fallen apart. I'm dropping this. Add 1. Then, the bullet comments before my eyes grew increasingly faint, and a hand waved in front of my face. Huasi also frowned slightly, his icy face showing a hint of concern. What's wrong with you? I looked down at my own legs and suddenly felt a strong urge to laugh. What broken legs and disability? What irreversible plot? these crazy bullet comments are just trying to scare people. Entering Huasai's office, I fell silent once again. Huasai seemed to have forgotten to take it off. Following my shocked gaze, his face instantly flushed red. I took 2 photos at the time, but there's no more space at home to hang them. Huasai's office hangs that oversized wedding photo he said was ugly. He awkwardly remained silent. Huasai's exclusive assistant, Tuan, came in, which surprised me a bit. "Madam, you've finally shown up. The CEO has been saying every day how busy you are, but you still manage to find time to make a loving lunch amidst your hectic schedule. We're all so envious." Me, the drama queen, loving lunch, every day. I looked up at Huasai, but all I saw was the man's face, which he was trying hard to keep cold, and the tip of his nose, flushed red. My iceberg had long since melted. The end.